and welcome to the DC NBA podcast, part of the DC Podcast Network. My name's Sean, and joining me is Marco. We still got to hammer this out.
Not the one and only, not as always.
Yeah.
Just for now, for this time.
We still got to figure out what the etiquette is here. Maybe I'll come up with like little bits for each of you.
I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah. Did you like my bit there when you introed or Lukey introed Alessio on the JVG tribute show, which you can listen on this podcast feed. It was like, Alessio the hater, network chef, editor at large.
Yeah, all of his titles, yeah.
And it's like Alessio O'Connor, Alessio Obama, Alessio Concert.
Wait, I didn't get that one.
That's right. No, we'll just move past it. It was really bad.
Wow. So how are you, Sean?
Oh, good in yourself, mate.
Mate, bloody beautiful. Just been enjoying that sun outside, getting in the wet, having a couple of these on.
Getting in the wet. That's incredible.
We had an old-fashioned sausage sizzle at Bo's house, just white bread, cold sausages, onions, tomato sauce.
A white bread sausage sizzle, it's just white dudes in a pool.
Yeah, it actually was. But yeah,
There's something about the shitty cold sausage.
100%.
Like, it's not bad.
No, it's not at all.
Like, when my father would purchase only those sausages for, like, the fortnightly barbecue, maybe that's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But if it's it's as good as a sausage gets, I reckon.
Exactly.
You can go Kel Knight on it and have mandarin and, like, a rabbit.
I remember when I first moved out of home, and I was like, I'm going to have people over for, like, barbecue at my house. And I went to Syracuse. I went to the butcher. I bought I'll get the chorizo. I'll get the pork and fennel. I get this one. I think I spent like $50 on sausages or something. And then like 3 people showed up, and I had like 30 sausages, 3 salads, all this stuff. I'm like, fuck, I should just go and like one pack of cold sausages, a bit of white bread. We would have had just as much fun.
Oh yeah, and then like you've bought 6 beers and 50 sausages.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Well, no wonder nobody bloody turned up to your
a couple of storms from Aldi. That was my poison back in those days.
Holy fuck! What's a storm?
It's one of Aldi's like fake brands.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, but it won like, best Australian lager of 2017.
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck, it's actually pretty decent. And it costs like $32 for a slab or something.
Yeah. What's that sound?
No, that's the fridge. Don't worry, it doesn't show up on the microphone.
It's like Hammer and Tongs, the greatest lager according to the Aldi's.
Yeah.
It's like award-winning beer. Well, I've written down here, welcome to the Deep to NBA podcast. And I did have a funny joke to say, but I feel like we've done a few, so I might just try and... It's not a stand and deliver joke, right? So I might try and sneak it in throughout the podcast.
Right, okay. I'll be ready. I'll be on the watch.
It's like a general enough topic that we're probably going to talk about.
Okay.
But Marco, do you want to explain what we're doing? Or we don't need to intro to the podcast network anymore. Everyone already knows what it is.
If you've been listening to the Deep 2, you know exactly what's going on. You've probably heard my voice before. I'm Marco. I'm from the Jeff Van Gundy tribute show. And if you're not listening to the other podcasts, like, you're missing out. Like, this week alone, there will be 3 podcasts on the feed. It's been bloody 4 a week. It's been more than 1 every 2 days as of recent. And the season hasn't even started, Sean.
As I live and or breathe. Pretty freaking good. I listened to Lukey's podcast today. He did a quick little episode of the W Basketball Show. Great pod. He's a good talker.
Yeah, I actually haven't listened to it yet. I haven't watched the game yet. I haven't watched Las Vegas Aces game for victory in the WNBA finals.
Of course.
Yeah, I know. I have to watch the Golden State Warriors play the Sacramento Kings in the preseason.
It was a pretty good game. Also, like, subbing in Sabonis with 6 minutes to go in the fourth. It's like, you've got like games next week that actually matter.
Yeah, and watching like RJ Barrett play 36 minutes today for the Knicks.
That's
like,
so tubes.
Yeah. But he needs the practice.
I can't think of anything worse than New York Knicks preseason. Yeah, like the Knicks are a hard watch anyway.
Yeah,
and then
especially Tom Thibodeau era preseason.
Yeah, and like I've watched enough Dante DiVincenzo, and that's like just the Bucks playoff runs and him on the Warriors. He's so smack bang average.
Yeah.
Did you? I think I shared it on the pod, but it was the meme of like Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard,
yeah.
and it was Nico Mannion. Dante DiVincenzo.
And then the
Pods.
guy who plays for the Warriors, yeah.
Yeah, fucking Pods is 10 assists the other day. 10 assists.
Really? 10 assists?
Two turnovers. He had like a 6-6-10, and then he followed it up with like an 8-4-6. Two turnovers.
So you're telling me you have this guy, and you also have the 2023-24 preseason scoring title holder in Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, let me just check my notes here. Can you name the last 3 preseason scoring title holders? Because neither can I. But what we're doing today is bold predictions. Season is just around the corner. A corner, also known as the corner. We're going to come on. We're going to wrap up a little bit of the news that's happened in the past couple of days. Quite some interesting news as well. But you and I are going to give 6 bold predictions. Wow, 6, that's such a random number. And I'm sure Lucas will love it because he hates 5s. But 3 each. And do you want to kick us off? I think that's all I need to say.
For sure. So my first prediction, it's not incredibly bold, but I think Zach LaVine will be traded before the deadline. He won't be on the Chicago Bulls come deadline day this season. I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum in the past, but the Bulls are like in just such a bad sport organizationally and, in the basketball product that they put on the floor. Since Lonzo was injured in... When was it? It was against the Golden State Warriors, January 2022.
Yeah.
They're a below 500 team. They're 59-64, which, over a season and a half is pretty bad when you have DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic. Like, on paper, that's just such a bad result to have. You're coming up, like, this season, DeMar DeRozan is another year older. He's another year shitter. You haven't made, like, any really attractive moves in the offseason that move the needle at all. You're coming off DeRozan's money this offseason as well. So, like, there is that opportunity to get a good package from a contender who wants, like, another all-star caliber player at the deadline. And then just, bench DeMar for the rest of the season. Or maybe don't. Maybe you're bad enough just playing him. And yeah, like, in an East where it's, like, apart from, like, the Washington Wizards, pretty much all the other teams are going to maybe not try and be good, but try and be better this year. There's like a good window for the Chicago Bulls to be bad.
Yeah. I completely agree. Like, I really want Zach LaVine to be on a different team, and I think it is a bit bold because this front office has only shown that they want to win games and they want to just like bang on mediocrity. And you make a good point. There's a lot of like teams there that are rising, like the Indiana Pacers, the Orlando Magic, just by pure like passage of time, they're going to get better. And out of the teams at the top, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Cavs, the 76ers. Now that huge asterisk, like what the fuck's going on there? But I say James Harden never touches the court. They've still got Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. I think it's as depressing as it is. They're just going to be good enough to win another 40 games, and that's going to be good enough for Arturas Karnisovas. You're coming at this bold prediction with logic and reasoning, and that's not how they fucking think. They're thinking, well, we haven't waived Lonzo yet, so maybe he'll start playing next year. Like, he's out for another year.
Yeah. And there's just you have no idea what he's going to be like when he gets back as well. I was going through old articles about it today. The one where they were flying in doctors from all around the United States to have a look at his injury because they were just like, his body was just so fucked up from wearing the Zos. Yeah, from wearing the Zos. I think I do see where you're coming from that, but like, God, this has to be the moment to do it. Because when else do you do it? Are you gonna extend DeRozan? Are you gonna give him? It won't be much money if you do, but like, are you gonna lock into another X years of DeMar DeRozan, or like, are you just gonna let that money come off your books and like be able to actually do something interesting?
Yeah, you have to extend him, and that would be the only team that would pay him more than like anyone else would. Yeah, like, everyone's looking at him as they were like 3 years ago, a mid-level exception guy. Yeah. Before the Bulls were just like, here's $75 million.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Isn't that crazy? And he was genuinely worth more than that at the time. Yeah. But now that is exactly who he is. Yeah. If not worse. Like, and you don't know what like a mid-level DeMar looks like on a team. Like, is he like Carmelo Anthony on the Lakers or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, do you just throw him in for some spot minutes to take a couple of mid-range jumpers or...
Yeah, Yeah, it's pretty fucking shit. Like, let's not build around that guy. Like, let's. Yeah. Like, and all right. Well, let's say it is. Oh, sorry, I've just read your final dot point. Destinations. I don't know.
Do you have any places you'd like LaVine to land?
Orlando.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice one.
I mentioned in our group chat that Orlando are like, let's say they make that OKC level push next season where they just they sniff 40, they're in the play-in. You don't even have to win the play-in games, just maybe win one of them, and it's like, bright future, whatever the team is. I can see Orlando getting into that area where it's like, everything's going fucking wonderful for them. They've got multiple future first-round picks. And I talked in the group chat about whether it be just a signing or a sign and trade for Donovan Mitchell, because they just need someone who can just like break down the defense from the guard positions. Like I think that they're fine with Wendell Carter Jr. and Paolo Banchero. Also, Jonathan Isaac had a block today against Jonas Valanciunas.
No shitting.
And then NBA's official Instagram wrote JI coming with the weak side block.
JI?
Yeah.
Golly God.
The rebrand has begun.
That is unreal. JI on JV. We all fear.
I guess anyone who can dribble and penetrate.
Yeah.
On the Magic, but I don't
know. And I think they can put together an offer that would sway Chicago. Like they got young players, they got picks, they got contracts.
It'll be like Gary Harris, Cole Anthony, and like maybe 2 firsts. Who knows what Zach LaVine's market is, because he's just never. We're not seeing any articles theorizing it, because they've just consistently said no, he's not for trade.
Yeah,
and I think he's worse than Bradley Beal. I think Zach LaVine is a worse basketball player than Bradley Beal.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with you, but I also think that your team can look so much worse with Bradley Beal on the floor than with Zach LaVine.
We'll see what the Suns look like this year. I'm holding out a glimmer of hope. For some reason, this is like the 3rd year in a row, I've been like, maybe Bill's like doing the right thing. Like I said that to Dante for fucking so long. He's not. Like he just loves money. But I'll see what he looks like in a winning situation. Yeah. But I bring up Beal because his trade market was whatever it was. Like, is it maybe Jaylen Brown? And then obviously being on that max contract with a no trade clause, it was a 2nd round pick and like a bag of peanuts.
Yeah. Zach LaVine's 5-6 years younger. Maybe
he's not getting paid $50 million. Yeah,
he's not getting paid $50 million a year. He's also, I guess, like a more team friendly player, you could argue as well. Like he doesn't, I think Bradley Beal's always had a bit of that stink about him that LaVine maybe doesn't have. That being said, you're right. Like, apart from your Orlando's, like, who's willing to part with those sorts of assets for him? Like, who needs his skill set at the moment? Like,
do you think he's a 3 or a 2?
I think he's a 2.
Yeah,
he's very clearly a 2.
But if you're the Indiana Pacers who need a 3, is he a 3? Or if you're the Raptors who are desperate?
That Indiana Pacers. Oh, that 2-3 of Buddy Hield and Zach LaVine would be...
I think, Buddy Hield or Benny Mathurin.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you just trade Buddy Hield and Benny Mathurin for him.
That's a good deal. That solves all your problems.
Well, if you were starting a franchise, would you rather Benny Math or Zach LaVine?
Oh, God.
Now, let's say they're both like minimum contracts for 5 years.
God, it's really it's splitting hairs, isn't it?
Yeah, no. Should we move on?
Yeah, we should move on.
Do you want to mention that team?
I did just chuck in how funny a Minnesota trade would be. Like, I feel like Cat's a bit on the out there, and I actually think he'd be a good fit next to Anthony Edwards as well. Like, if
Zach LaVine.
Yeah. If you move Edwards up to be a full-time 3, well, like Conley, LaVine, Edwards. They don't have Jared Vanderbilt anymore, do they? And then that French guy.
Yeah. And they've still got Naz Reid, so they still have a backup centre.
Yeah.
Who's there for? It's one of the...
they might need to sign another one. They might be a little bit short of that then.
Their four's that brother.
His sibling did play for Charlotte.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is bad, isn't it?
But they're like fine.
Yeah. Oh wow, this is really bad. Well, here let's move on while I confirm.
Hey, Jamie, pull up the starting four.
Jaden McDaniels.
McDaniels. Not to be confused with Jalen.
Not to be confused with Jalen Green.
My bold prediction, which I've been saying on this very podcast, isn't going to be a thing. My bold prediction is that Chris Paul will finish the season with the Golden State Warriors. The whole time after he was traded, I remember we went to Sam's to watch Game 4 or something. We had the paella, and there was a rumor that like Jordan Poole might be traded for Chris Paul. And I remember it was fucking hilarious because I hate Chris Paul. And then it's like, what would it be like? And it's like expiring contract. He's just there for a trade, and I'm already writing down Pascal Siakam and Karl Anthony Towns, right? But watching him play has been quite good.
Yeah.
Like, he's an arsehole. Like, he flopped twice in the last 5 minutes against the Kings in a game that we won by 1 point. Like, those flops mattered, right? He's such a prick, but he looks like he's bought in. Like, he's sitting up there and he's holding his jersey over his mouth with Draymond and Steph, and they're like, whatever the fuck NBA players say when they cover their mouths, right? Like, he's doing all that stuff. He's said all the right things. Steve Kerr obviously loves him because he's an old man who knows how to pass the ball. But it's just so interesting, and this is why maybe I'm kind of wrong here, but he's playing the Draymond Green role, where he's the one operating the dribble handoffs. He's the one who's like standing at the top of the key while Steph and Clay run around. Clay is being so dog shit, but at least Steph's running around like getting open, right? And Chris Paul's distributing, which is like this. We haven't seen him play with Draymond Green, which is going to be a bit of a concern. But imagine if Draymond Green could just, if nothing's on the pass, could just do a little snake dribble in a pick and roll and then just get a wide open midi that he like shoots 90% from. It's pretty fucking good. And I've only watched him play with maximum spacing because Kevon Looney hasn't been playing many preseason games because he's got 82 more games to play after this. So it's been Trace Jackson-Davies, who's like loves to sort of sit in the dunker's spot, but almost with the cameras, and then sprint in head first, and it works, and the spacing works somehow. I'm saying this as someone who, again, hasn't watched him with Kevon Looney and Draymond Green on the court, but it looks like it works. Like, it looks like it works as him as the small Sean Livingston who can't defend like Sean Livingston. What do you think about me?
Well, I 100% agree with you, and in fact, I'm just surprised that this is your bold prediction, because this is exactly how I felt like from the moment the trade happened. Like, I understood your perspective that it's like it's a contract, which it is, and like still could be, right? But like, no, it just makes so much sense. And watching him in preseason, he actually just does exactly what Draymond does. Like, he just stands at the top of the key lackadaisically and then makes exactly the right pass every single time. I know again it's like a very small sample size, but like, he's taking threes, he's taking catch and shoot threes, like, and he's hitting them. And then I think it's also like the concern about playing with Draymond. Like, he's Chris Paul, like he's a veteran, he's played in a lot of situations, he's a very, very intelligent player. I think he'll just mold his game around Draymond. Like, I don't think he will just fill the Draymond role when they're on the floor together. There'll be like a little, zag that Steve Kerr can use when they're on the floor together. Whether that's like, I don't know, even like getting him downhill and like, getting him into his snake dribble or getting him space in the mid range or something like that. And it just makes so much sense, and it alleviates the thing that I have disliked about the Warriors in the last like 3 years, which is that like Steph Curry just has to have the ball so much because like no one else can do anything with it. Like, in some of those preseason games, like Steph was like completely playing like just completely off ball, like almost like he'd carry the ball up to halfway, hand it to Chris Paul, and then just like run laps around the defense.
It's cause, like, he really hasn't done that since Andre Iguodala left. Because when Iggy was there, and like even going back further, like we had Sean Livingston, we had David West. Andrew Bogut was always the guy who operates on the high post. Like, we've always had just another ball handler who's competent. And like, Draymond's there, but we sort of need another one. And Jordan Poole like was looking him off to take contested threes.
Now he's looking Denny Avdija off.
And now that was a funny tweet, wasn't it? But we've also got Dario Saric who does the same thing. And now that I've said this bold take, which might just be a contradiction to Sean's take. No, it's not actually bold. But like, if we get rid of Chris Paul for whatever it may be, we've still got Dario Saric who can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe the bold take is we just needed more playmaking and he got it.
Yeah. And look, I don't know if I'd agree with that Saric take, because it's also the thing where it's like, yeah, you had Draymond who's like a playmaker, right? But he's not like, okay, I'm gonna call for a screen and like dribble, past the 3-point line sort of guy. Like he's passing and dribble handoffs and stuff like that. And it's like Chris Paul is a point guard. Like he's got that got that extra layer to his game.
He can dribble,
which is dribbling the basketball, which Dario Saric can't do.
No.
Draymond Green can't really do.
Yeah.
Andre Iguodala could do it. Like that was perhaps what alleviated a lot of the workload for Steph in that case. But yeah, and that's what I also wanted to say is I think what's so evident is the buy-in. Like he's just completely, however he feels about being traded to the Warriors. And I don't know, I think you get traded to the Warriors, I think you're pretty happy whoever you are, whatever your stature. But like, I think if you're Chris Paul and you're at this stage in your career, you could feel like a bit of a bargaining chip. Like, oh, okay, it wasn't the Chris Paul trade, right? Like, it was the Bradley Beal trade.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's just no sign of ego or anything like that. And he just, obviously, because he's probably like top 3 smartest player in the league, like he just understands the offense immediately. And like, I know it's fucking propaganda, but watching him and Steph, like, spending 45 minutes running around after training's finished, it's like I can't help but buy in. But.
It's, look, some people in PR do a great job. I think Ray Ritter does a great job.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Should we move on to your next one?
Sure. Well, we hinted at this earlier in the podcast, but I don't think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to make it out of the first round. There's just been nothing in this offseason to be excited about, and this is an offseason that, kind of finished with Joel Embiid winning the MVP. I know there was obviously the very unceremonious dumping by the Boston Celtics, but like their additions have been underwhelming. What is like Patrick Beverley, Kelly Oubre,
Danny Green,
like Danny Green for the second time, I want to say.
Danny Green, born in 1987. That's been one of the fucking American Horror Stories was set.
And then obviously the James Harden situation has just like, it's like, okay, you're not going to have your second best player. Like if he's playing, he's not going to be trying, and he's not. And even if he suddenly decides that he can play for a basketball team where Daryl Morey's in charge, like he's not going to be good. And then we've spoken about Daryl Morey's penchant for finding the best available deal. He invented the like, all right, Ben Simmons, you don't want to play for us? Well, I'm going to sit on you, even though there is no obvious trade for you until a trade happens. But like, there is no obvious trade for James Harden at the moment. Like, we can talk more about this later, but like, the Clippers thing is ongoing, and the question is just like, do they want him? And if the return is Terrence Mann and picks, like that doesn't move the needle at all. Like that doesn't make the Philadelphia 76ers a better team. I can just really imagine Philadelphia matching up against like Miami or even Brooklyn and just like completely plummeting out. It's just got that written all over it already.
It's just miserable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like the Ben Simmons situation was miserable as well, and it got resolved, but they just like weren't very good. And it's like, oh, maybe another year under the belt. But no, James Harden hasn't really had a good playoff series in his whole entire life. It's pretty fucking depressing. The fact that it's happening again. And I was listening to a podcast today that was just talking about that standoff between the Clippers and the 76ers. And if Daryl Morey didn't have this in his back pocket, that he's been here, like he's done this before, and he knows that the standoff works for him, like you would be like, come on, just fucking fix this already. But because it's worked, he can just be like, don't worry, someone's going to be thirsty 6 months from now. Maybe the Raptors are like, fuck, let's just like go for it or something. What if there's some stupid team like that? And he's like, yeah, we won We want James Harden. So he's comfortable doing it. And if you're the Clippers, like, yeah, you can, like, I think there was reported interest. Like, they have said, no, we really want this guy. We've just got all the power in the negotiations. Yeah. So they're just butting heads, and I think they're both right. Like, whether both in their eyes and in my eyes, I think they're both right to hold out. Yeah, because something better will come for James Harden that isn't Terrence Mann and Marcus Morris.
Yeah, exactly right. But just how it feels at the moment is it's like the Sixers are prodding the Clippers to make a deal, and the Clippers are like, this is all we can offer you, and it's like, even if Philly were to accept the Clippers' best offer, like, there's no player that comes back in that deal that really moves the needle. Yeah. Like, because, I like Tyrese Maxey. Like, he could make another jump this year, but, like, if he's your second best player, I don't think you're winning a playoff series. Like, especially with Joel Embiid, who, like, is a really good dominant player, but, like, he's not always the guy you can give the ball with 30 seconds left and, guarantee him to make a bucket. Like, he's a center. He's not Nikola Jokic. He's not Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's just a different sort of breed of player.
He's clearly proven he's got no mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. No mindset, no mentality. No mindset mentality.
I think this is bold because they're one of the top 4 teams in the East, but, like, I completely agree with you.
Yeah. It's hard as well because, like, I don't think the East is very good this year. Like, I think once you get past Boston and Milwaukee, there's, like, huge questions about every single team. Yeah. Where, like, if I was saying this about a top 4 team in the West, like, they might get beaten by, like the Golden State Warriors finished were the 6th seed last season, and that was just completely unsurprising. Yeah. Whereas, like, if Philly somehow scrape into 3rd spot, they're going to be playing, like, the Indiana Pacers or the Brooklyn Nets or the Atlanta Hawks. And even then, I don't really like their chances.
Yeah. I think I'd pick them, but we also we just don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know who the fuck's going to be on the team. Yeah, I really hope this just gets resolved. Like, and I like that Adam Silver went to Toxic Joe Corona and was just like, "Can you fucking fix this? Just get it done." Yeah, maybe we need a little bit of that here. Because, like, James Harden's not showing up to preseason, and there's that new rule in the CBA, like the Ben Simmons rule, where it's like, if you don't report to the camp, you can't play for a professional basketball organization the following year. And, like, we'll see. Like, we'll talk about it later, but, like, he came to day 1, but then what the fuck's up? Yeah. How do you know? And then he hasn't showed up for anything else. Does he just need to rock up, put shoes on, and then go home, and then all of a sudden he's eligible to be a free agent? Like, what's the...
Yeah, and do the Sixers let him do that as well? You know, like, are they like, yep, cool, you showed up, or are they like, no, that's not like showing commitment to the team? It's just a big mess, and there's no way he's going to be playing for them on opening night. Like,
you don't reckon?
Well, I guess he has to.
It's the 19th. Yeah, there's like 6 days until the season starts.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he's not going to be fit. Like, he's going to have a tweak in his back or something like that. Like, even if it's like, hey man, you're going to be playing the first few months of the season with us, go do workouts for 2 or 3 weeks or whatever.
And if you're Harden, the best thing you can do is just rock up and play hard and play really well, and then boost your trade value.
But when has he ever done that?
Yeah, but then Daryl Morey's not going to trade you because you're playing well and you're probably winning games.
Yeah. And every time Harden's won out of a situation, he's like, he's played like absolute crap. That's his method for getting a trade. Yeah, it's worked twice before.
Just mentioning Toronto, just like in passing, like, would you do a trade based around OG Anunoby?
For James Harden? Yeah. The Philadelphia 76ers, I would. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But what if it's just OG?
I would honestly do a straight swap for OG if I was the Sixers. He's what is he? Again, like 7-8 years younger. Like,
maybe he's like 20.
Oh, geez. He's one of those guys who is he's an up and comer, and he could make the All-Star jump this season. But he's actually he's 26 years old.
Okay. But
that team would look so much nicer with OG.
It would. Nick Nurse connection. Yeah. But even Nick in here, but Nick Nurse edition's sick. It's like you might have got the best free agent coach. Just the vibes are fucking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I don't know what sort of revolutionary thing he does with this roster either. Because it's
it's like give the ball to Joel Embiid more. Run pick and rolls. He can't pass. We know. So it's, and he had the article in the Ringer where he was like, if I get doubled, some people, and it was like taking a quip at Jokic, it was like some people will pass, but I just want to shoot over him like Kobe. Where's that gone? Yeah. Happy to move on. Any final comments?
Happy to move on.
So my one, I wrote before today's report about Ja Morant, but I said that the Memphis Grizzlies are going to make a conference finals trip and potentially more.
Mm-hmm.
So Ja Morant is out for the first 25 games of the season because shooters shoot. But this team just knows how to win games. Like this team just John Concar's its way into 50 wins, right? And I think if Marcus Smart is the guy starting instead of Ja Morant for 25 games, that's fine. Marcus Smart's in there. I didn't love the acquisition. I still don't really. But I love just getting rid of Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
And let's say...
It's like taking 2 steps backward and then 3 steps forward.
Yeah. And they've sort of they lost Tyus Jones, which is a big hit because he's one of the best backup point guards in the league. And they lost their best perimeter defender in Dylan Brooks. But they sort of combined it into one guy that I don't like, but does those two things. So he is the playmaker, backup point guard, and he's going to be your best perimeter defender. So that's pretty cool, like consolidating your assets. And it only took them that Warriors pick for this year, consolidating your assets into one. They were really scary when the Warriors won their title, and we just snuck past them, and Jaren Jackson was just unbeatable on defense. They were really scary, and it's okay, they're rightfully they're the next best thing, and blah, blah, blah. Desmond Bain's sick, Ja Morant's obviously sick, they've got veterans there as well. And we all know the case, but I don't know if you read the article I sent in the group chat about how when Ja was coming out of the draft, there was 0 red flags about him, and it was he's hardworking, everyone he's ever met just thinks he's the nicest guy ever, but he just sort of got drunk off money.
Yeah.
And then apparently he used to go to this Memphis club, and he used to just bring a couple of his friends, and it's oh my god, this is incredible, we're just coming here. And then it got to the point that the club owner was hey, can you stop being a prick, you're just bringing massive entourages of people, and you're really disturbing people. Then he got kicked out, and he tried to start a fight in the car park. And then now apparently he sat down with Zach Kleiman and Taylor Jenkins, and he just didn't want to hear about what they had to say about just pull your head in. And then there's also this worry from the front office that his dad's a bad influence on him.
Yeah, I saw that.
And his dad's just vicariously living through him. Fucking pretty bad stuff for a dude who got told not to show guns on Instagram Live, proceeded to show guns on Instagram Live, whether it's fake or not, with his friends. What the fuck, man? And then for another report to be people have told you to stop doing all this stuff, and he keeps doing it.
It's just that thing where it's there is all this bad hoodoo around him, but it never affects his basketball when he's actually playing basketball. He's so sort of I'm not saying that it's not a worry if you're the Memphis Grizzlies that this is what the player that you've staked your future on is but he just does not look like he is affected by it at all. And being suspended for 25 games, that's going to affect your ability to play well in the NBA. But I 100% agree. I don't want to sound like Jimmy Butler or Trae Young here, but the regular season should be a cakewalk for this team. Getting a top 4 seed just doesn't bother them at all.
Yeah.
Their ridiculous record without Ja. In the last 2 seasons, wasn't it? And I don't think the Marcus Smart thing. I think like you said, the Marcus Smart Dylan Brooks almost swap is just it just doesn't affect. It doesn't put him up and it doesn't put him down at all. Maybe Marcus Smart's a little less cringe than Dylan Brooks. Maybe he's actually, maybe he's actually a bit more of a leader than a pest.
I agree. Yeah.
Which is a positive thing, particularly if this is who Ja Morant is.
Yeah.
But it'll just be staying healthy and getting to the playoffs will be all that really hinges on this team's success. I reckon for me they'd be my second favorite to come out of the West this season. It's a very early prediction.
Denver Nuggets
for sure.
Yeah.
They're really good.
I also like that they've still got a lot of draft capital. They earned all their future first round picks, and they obviously let guys like D'Anthony Melton walk so that they could redraft guys and hopefully just fill their role players with 4-year rookie contracts. They're tradable.
They actually can just still throw a package at someone if they have to.
Yeah,
they just haven't had any need to.
Yeah.
And like, you know, if I want to be a bit of a pessimist, I hope that isn't like a chip on their shoulder that will come back to bite them at some stage. Where they're like, nah, man, we're just gonna keep winning with our own guys. When it's like, okay, well, if you can get OG Anunoby, you definitely should. Like,
I think they were one of the teams that had been reported to throw 3 first-round picks at it.
Yeah,
so it's like they're willing to do it. The Raptors just fucking hate trading their guys. It's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
Imagine if you had 3 first-round picks instead of Dennis Schroeder, Jakob Poeltl, and like no hope.
Imagine if you had, you know, one player who isn't like a 6'8" ball handler, like, you know.
Yeah, there's only one ball. And like if that is the Western Conference Finals, Triple J against Jokic would be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, well, you know,
it would be Steven Adams.
It would be Steven Adams on him, but it would be
Jaren Jackson helping.
Yeah.
I mean, Jokic I don't think he's ever been fazed by help defense.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah. I think this is my boldest prediction.
Yeah.
I think the Brooklyn Nets will be a top 6 seed, and I'm hedging here. Like a top 8 would have been a much easier thing to say,
but this damn plane.
But you have to go out on a limb occasionally. I just feel like there's been this real undervalue of them in this preseason, where it's like, but like, you know, they've got lots of good, not great players. Like, they could kind of fall apart by design or otherwise at any point. Blah blah blah. But like, they have so many good players on their roster. Like, they have such a nice, varied roster. Mikal Bridges looked like so good last year, and that was like, you know, being thrown into a situation completely by surprise, asked to do something he'd never done in his career before as well, and he got the results he did. Like, I don't know what he's going to look like with the whole off-season with the Brooklyn Nets, with this recognition from the franchise that like he's their all-star guy as well. Like, I feel like there's been a real like, okay, Mikal, like, you were so good, you're like the primary option on this team. That's who we want you to be. Nick Claxton was Defensive Player of the Year candidate last year.
He's my pick for DPOY this year.
He's Sean's pick for this year. Spoiler alert. He's a year older. Like, he's got, you know, 2 or 3 elite wing defenders, 2 or 3 elite point of attack defenders as well beside him. So he's just going to have like this perfect defensive storm. I think like players are going to move off this team because they're just going to be like, you know, it's going to be like fruit picking for contending teams come the deadline. They're going to be like, okay, which 3-and-D wing do I want? Which backup point guard do I want? Anyone can move at any time. But like, just by osmosis, they should be really good. And the teams that are kind of around their tier, like the Hawks, the Pacers, the Heat, the 76ers, like I'm just as convinced about them as I am the Nets. And I think the Nets, they just have the least to lose in this situation, you know? Like,
I agree. And I don't even, they might not necessarily be cherry picked as well. They could also be one of the buyers at the trade deadline.
Like if that's exactly right.
If they're 10 games above 500, they own all their future first round picks. And they have the matching salary to get something done. Like they were one of the final 3 teams in the Damian Lillard trade. So like, who's that next guy? Like, do they want Chris Paul?
Zach LaVine?
Like if one of our 2 guys gets moved, but like they're in the discussion because they've got a really good trade offer that they can put together. I like this.
Now, can I say it?
Yeah.
Can I say the B word?
What's the B word though?
We're not allowed to talk about him on this podcast. Ben Simmons.
Oh yeah, true.
Like, you know, what was our catchphrase the other day? Like, you know, notwithstanding that it's preseason, but like he actually finally looks like he can play basketball against NBA players.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, some of those highlights were against fucking Maccabi Tel Aviv. But it's promising that he can dunk the ball.
And like actually driving to the basket, like, you know, like it was it was the Instagram highlight reel of like, oh my god, like he took LeBron to the rim. Look at that. And it's like, but like probably most players who are 6'8" or taller should be able to take,
especially in preseason,
year 21 LeBron to the rim during preseason. But like he does look more confident, and he does look more comfortable. I was just listening to the Nate Duncan episode with the Brooklyn beat reporter. I can't remember his name. But yeah, he was just talking about how it's like he's finally, like we're finally past the timeline for the pinched nerve to appeal. Like, and he shouldn't have been playing last season because like, it's like an 18-month recovery or whatever. And that he just looks physically the best he's looked since he got to Brooklyn. And then also like, there was a lot of patching up to do. Obviously, we know Ben Simmons has like the most delicate mentality of anyone in the league. There's a lot of patching up to do with the Brooklyn Nets organization. Like him and Jack Vaughn didn't get along. He was mostly on the out because Kevin Durant didn't want to have anything to do with him. And now it is like, he has an opportunity to turn over a new leaf. I'm really like struggling to say this because I sold all my Ben Simmons stock completely so long ago, and I bought all anti Ben Simmons stock on top of that. Like I really was completely done with thinking about him as a basketball player. But like he is there and fit, and if at his worst he's going to be bad, and then I think they'll be bad. Because of that, at his best, we know what he's like at his best. But then if it's somewhere in the middle, like it's a valuable contributor to a basketball team.
I mean, the fact that you said the B word, and I just didn't even fucking know what the fuck was going on. But I think I'm just going to look this up. Yeah, he is. I believe he can sign an extension next off season. So maybe that's got something to do with it. He's got next year. I mean, this year he's owed 37 mil. Next year he's owed 40 mil. And he's a free agent. But I believe he can sign an extension on top of that.
I mean, that helps my case, for sure.
I mean, he's still got to be good at basketball if he wants to. If he wants to get the money. I'm like you. I sold it all, and it's like this motherfucker. And then like now he's come out. He's had 2 good preseason games, and he's like, I've always wanted to play for the Boomers. So like you've almost like held ESPN the decision episode to say I will not be playing in the Olympics. But if he's good and he wants to play for the Boomers, that's pretty fucking cool.
That would be really cool. As well.
Like we know how much just like having a dude like fucking Josh Giddey would do. Like even I always forget this dude's name. Who's the backup center?
Jock Landale.
Yeah, Jock Landale. I always forget his name, but Jock Landale's like a good FIBA player. Ben Simmons.
Oh yeah, he should be purpose built for it, really. Yeah. But like, we've never seen it.
Like we have not seen him wear an Australia jersey. Maybe in under 16. Or something.
And that would be the redemption arc. That, if we're being completely cynical, would get him the extension. Is a good season with the Brooklyn Nets, who like make the playoffs without having to go through the play-in, and then he goes and wins bronze at the Olympics or whatever the Boomers, and then we'll be like, bang, $35 million from the Orlando Magic.
It's a photo of him hugging Josh Giddey at the end. It's like, oh man, the Boomers, and it's just like reframing the Joe Ingles patty one. All right, my final bold take, which look, you saved your boldest for the end, so did I. I think Dallas Mavericks are going to miss the playoffs. Right now, Kyrie is in his love bombing phase, and he's just like saying how much he loves the coaches and he loves the organization. The organization that slowly had some horrible reports come out of it, like, oh, there might be a few shit people in here. Their depth is dog shit. They're starting, I mean, at least in the preseason, they were starting Derek Lively and Olivier Maxence Prosper. I'm fine if you want to start a rookie and then just like take him out 5 minutes into the game, but like don't play him proper minutes. But what's the other option? Like Rashawn Holmes, Dwight Powell, Maxi Cleaver. The only guys with real upside are Josh Green and Jaden Hardy, and it's like, well, what are they going to be like? Josh Green might cap out at Tim Hardaway Jr. Right? Maybe with a bit better on defense, and like Jaden Hardy, like, I think he could be very good, but there's also that might just be like a 5% or 1% proposal. Luka Doncic, when things are going bad, like when it rains, it pours for him. I think both in a micro sense, if he's getting a few bad foul calls, all of a sudden he's going to get a lot more because he's going to get angry. But also across the whole entire season, the flop with Slovenia as well, and how fucking like he played great, but just how pissed off he got. The vibes are very good in Dallas, and we know that this is the best Kyrie Irving's ever going to get in terms of like a personality thing. He hasn't even spoken out about Israel or Palestine at the moment, so I reckon he's saving that for opening night.
Dodging a bullet there.
He's saving that for opening night, and he's going to somehow pull a suspension out of it.
Yeah, and he's going to have the most unexpected take on it as well.
he's probably got like an essay about Egypt,
just
ready to go, and it's like maybe talk about someone else.
Relocate the Israeli people to the Sinai. It's really hard to say a Luka Doncic team doesn't make the playoffs. But they didn't last year. Yeah. And I actually think that last run with Kyrie, I think it was weird. Like, I don't think something wasn't right, and I don't think it was just that Kyrie Irving was on the team. It just felt like nothing went right for them in those games.
Nothing went right. They've obviously got the stink because of Jason Kidd. But remember when Kyrie and him were passing the ball back? I think it was against the Wolves, and they couldn't decide who was going to take the final shot.
Yeah. It was absurd. But I don't know. And you see that in the NBA when players get traded mid-season, and they're like, "Fuck." Like, it's actually really hard to play with, another superstar who you haven't spent the last 60 games playing with.
Especially when he loves the ball.
Yeah. But I also like the West is going to be that section of the West, which they're now in, because they're not in the quasi contender realm of the West at the moment, at all. The part of the West they're in is so competitive. It's got lots of teams who are, you got your OKCs who are going to be getting better.
I'd say, with the Pels and the Warriors.
Yeah. Exactly. The Pels, the Warriors, Minnesota have a lot to, redeem themselves for as well.
/ a lot to lose.
The Clippers could be, if the Clippers are healthy, they'll be in that group, but also should quickly transcend that group as well. If Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are both playing at even 80% and playing 80% of their games, they're very quickly going to break away from that pack. And so then there's only 2 or 3 teams that are noticeably worse than Dallas, your San Antonios, your Utahs, your Houstons. I think those are the 3. Oh, and Portland, sorry. And then you're right back where you were last season, which is right at the bottom of the play-in, or even failing to make it into the play-in. So it's going to be a tough season for them. It's going to be a really tough season for Luka. I do think he has the ability to just put the team on his back and make everyone look better, but it's does Kyrie just does he just cut a whole slice of that pie out, because a huge part of the last few frustrating years with Luka has been not with Luka, with the Dallas Mavericks, has been okay, Luka's supporting cast is pretty shit, but he makes them all look really good. And Luka can't make Kyrie look good just because of the sort of players they are.
No, that's a great point. It's not Kyrie's going to shoot 45% on spot ups, and it's he might, but that's not why you're paying him $35 million.
He's going to average 22 points a game, whether he's taking them all off the dribble or all catch and shoot.
And he's on the wrong side of 30. And
he's Kyrie Irving.
He's a piece of shit. It's a lot of bad vibes entering this season. But also the bad vibes are paired with a high ceiling, which is, I guess, good.
It should make for some really competitive basketball.
If the Mavs might play the 76ers in the finals.
We're
oh my god. And it's they make a mid-season trade, the Mavericks, they make a mid-season trade for Jeremy Grant. And it's it was a pretty fun roster. Two perennial MVP favorites are playing on the most stinky teams in the league. But it's just greatness. Can't believe I fucking said that. Before we get into the news, do you want to take a break?
Let's take a quick break.
So, do you like my shirt?
I actually really do.
It's really nice. Bought it a couple of weeks ago op shopping with the twins. Which is a funny thing you say, but I also say for similar reasons.
What?
Francesca and Leandro.
Oh, right.
So, got this shirt, really good, $2. I went up and it's one of the greatest op shop transactions. I was hey mate, how much for the shirts? And he's $2. I'm like, oh, okay, here you are, mate, just cash. I'm not even going to ask the fucking C word for him, which is also a C word card.
Yeah.
Took it home, gave it a wash, put it on. I'm like, oh, fuck, there's a fucking stain right here. Psst, psst, psst. The shit, you know, the stain shit, blah, blah. Washed it, hasn't come out, still stained, but it's a really nice shirt. So I've just proceeded to wear it.
I can't even notice the stain. Oh, like, I mean, I can see it now.
I think there's also a bigger stain.
You know what? Sloppy's in this somewhere. Like.
Life's too short, man. But I was also thinking I'll just wear it to, like, the pub and stuff.
Yeah.
And then just, like, be like, oh, I fucking spilled something on myself at the start of every night. And then be like, oh, I fucking done it again. So much so that I start to get a reputation for spilling.
Right.
So I
Sloppy
don't
Sean.
Yeah. I won't even have to say it anymore.
Yeah.
I'll just be like, what's on his fucking shirt?
But so that's better than wearing a stained shirt, is having a reputation. Is the guy always spills.
Yeah, that's the problem because I've only got one stained shirt.
Yeah. So I'm wearing just a white Kmart singlet. And this one's not too bad, but it's I do anything in it and it gets stained, and it's like, well, yeah, that just has to be the look, doesn't it?
Are you like eating a lasagna with your hands and then just wiping it on your belly?
Nothing that drastic. Nothing that drastic. My mum, God bless her, but God, she must be the messiest eater in the world. I don't
really.
We will probably once a week we'll get a falafel. We work together. We'll get a falafel from Very Good Falafel on. Yeah. Oh no, just falafels. Whichever one is on Sydney Road. Maybe it's Very Good. Yeah. And without fail, she'll get fucking hummus or whatever, just every single time. Like,
that's probably a good one to spill though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you're picking, it's must.
It's just the consistency, you know. It's 100% strike rate, and she's always like, "Oh, I always get this on myself." We'll make a change. How
did you progress your legacy today?
Damn right.
Fuck. Let's talk news.
What's our first story tonight, Sean?
So the Oklahoma City Thunder have traded for Kevin Porter Jr. and they're waiving him immediately, according to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. OKC is receiving 2 second-round picks. Do you want to hear who they're from? Doesn't matter. And Houston are getting Victor Oladipo and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. Oladipo's out for the whole entire season. If he does come back, it's like after the trade deadline. So I'm not even gonna fucking talk about trades for Victor Oladipo.
Yeah.
So OKC eat $16.9 million this year, and Kevin Porter Jr., who was a walking red flag, his contract was fully non-guaranteed for all 4 years that he signed it. They're obviously not going to pick him up because he isn't playing basketball. Yeah. Because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I can go on a little bit and say, but 2 second-round picks for $5.51 million. This is the test case of what pick value is to picks to dollars is in the modern NBA. But this is like the Houston Rockets should have just waived him.
Yeah.
Yes, they saved $5 million, but like the fact that it was like, okay, this dude abused his partner. Now let's look for a trade partner so we can save a couple of dollars. It's like the answer should be just fucking get rid of him.
Yeah.
And you guys talked about the Miles Bridges situation on the JVG tribute show. I think you were spot on with what you said. And I know we joked about it a year ago, but the NBA is seriously taking a tolerance approach to domestic violence.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I've said this before, but it's like when something like this happens, it shouldn't be a discussion of like, what's the NBA going to do? What's the team going to do? Like, are they going to trade him to get off of his money? And then I remember when there was when the story first came out and it first entered the the NBA trade guy universe, and it was like, would it be good to get his contract because then if the NBA decides to decides to make it dead money, then you open up all this cap space. It's like, what a depressing thing to be talking about. And then I think this is even worse because it hasn't really opened up much cap space. And for a team that's already thrown so much money at people in free agency, Houston have taken, and we'll talk about this a bit later, but Houston have taken this approach of we have all these young guys and they're not very good. We'll get not very good old guys who earn more money than them in to help them. So it's not like they're opening up slowly opening up room for a Giannis Antetokounmpo size contract or something like that. It's just a really kind of sad piece of accounting. And yeah, like, you know, the long and short of it is they just should have waived him.
Yeah. 100%. From the non-KPG element, I'm really happy Jeremiah Robinson-Earl is out of OKC.
Yeah.
They obviously traded up to get him a couple of years ago, but I just didn't like seeing him there. Like he's one of those big men, and Trace Jackson-Davies is a bit like this as well, where it's like, okay, your best thing is, you know, when you're in college, you run the fucking whole thing through you, and it's like, oh my god, you won 16 college games or whatever the fuck a good number is, and it's like this dude's a playmaker, and he gets to the NBA, and it's like, oh, you're actually 6'9" or something, and it's like, oh well, you can't defend the rim, but you're 21 years old and you're just getting bullied by all these older men, so you can't actually create at the four. What the fuck do you do? And like, it looks sick on his college highlight reels, but it's like they're like a man without a country, and it's really hard to break in and be Alper and Şengün, because a lot of the time you are just Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who just like soaks up a bit of minutes for a tanking team, and then you go away.
Yeah, but I mean, OKC loves those guys, you know, like your Pokus and your Robies and your stuff, where it's like, you don't actually have a skill set that works, but like we'll try and find a way for it to work. And like, I don't think it's really paid off for them yet, but you know, that's the approach they were. I mean, and you know, maybe this is a bit of a signal that it's like, all right, well, we want to start winning now. We need to stop experimenting with these kind of weird young guys. Like,
but fair play to them. Like, you know, if you've got all their picks, try and draft them. If one of them is Nikola Jokic, that's sick. Yeah. If none of them are, they're second round picks.
All
right, let's move on to the next piece of news. Nikola Jokic's boss, Kelvin Booth, had some choice comments in an interview with Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer, which a day later, being today, he said on ESPN2, I don't know if it was commentating or radio, but he said, quote, "Under no circumstances would I make or approve these comments for public consideration." Now, I'll say the comments. First, Kelvin Booth on Bruce Brown. Quote, "Some of these teams were trying to get Bruce, trying to make it worth it. It's like, just be careful what you wish for. Peyton Watson's bigger, he's longer, he's more athletic, he guards better, he passes better. He doesn't have the experience, and he's not as good offensively yet. But we need defense more than we need offense on our team." Which is like, I'll be like, okay, fair enough. You're defending the guy that you drafted and you traded in to draft him. But then second quote on Bones Highland, quote, "I knew you couldn't have two guys that couldn't guard, and we couldn't have two guys that were young and kind of more me guys. Mike makes $30 million. Michael Malone or Michael Porter Jr.?
It's got to be Michael Porter Jr., right?
Yeah, it is. He's one of the best shooters in the NBA. So, Bones, there's no place for you. This was part of an article Kevin O'Connor wrote, where it's like Kelvin Booth is talking about setting up a dynasty for years to come. Yeah. And like, did he not read it? Did he? As soon as he said that shit, was he not like, "Hey, don't publish this"? But this cunt sucks. It's crazy that this got published, and he said, "No, why the fuck would I want that published?"
It's just so funny as well. Like, they're just such like out of pocket things to be saying about like any NBA player, let alone like if you want to take away like kind of how bad of a PR move it is, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, we all saw Bruce Brown last year. Like, he was like kind of, you know, like, he's the NBA cognoscenti's beloved uncut gem, you know?
He was your fifth best player on a title team. Hard to find.
And then like, you're talking about Peyton Watson, someone who no one knows anything about. And I'm sure you do. You're the GM. Like, you drafted him, you scouted him.
He's got round face disease.
But then, and shitting on Bones Island, I'm all for that. Like, I think we're all on team shit on Bones. But like, Michael Porter Jr. is on your team. And like,
the fact that you were like, man, we had to trade one of these shit cunts. And one of us making 30, so it was easy to get rid of the guy who raps.
And also, like, you know, the guy who was noticeably worse, like, you know, Michael Porter Jr. still played an important role in the Denver Nuggets championship.
He might be their fifth best player.
Now. Well, watch out. Peyton Watson's coming.
Whereas somebody grab a towel.
And when, oh God, that's so bad, Sean. And when... Christ almighty, man. You're in trouble for that one. You're in the doghouse. But like when this first came out, I was almost like, is this like Calvin Booth trying to prove that he's not like a patsy, that he's not like that he's not like Stan Kroenke's you know, lapdog or whatever, being like, I'm a maverick GM, like you know, I just kind of I'm brutal, I'll do whatever I want. But like now that he's walked it back, it's obvious that he's just kind of stupid. You know?
Yeah, and it's like you didn't let Bruce Brown walk because Bruce Brown fucking sucks, man. You let him walk because he's going to cost you money, and the Cronkies don't want to spend money.
Well, they literally couldn't afford him, could they? Like, was there scope for them to match that offer? Like,
no, unless they dump someone, which are less worried about. But it was they would have had to trade away like an important piece.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
but. Yeah, I guess that sort of moots my point, doesn't it? But it's not like, okay, well, Bruce Brown's gone, they brought in Justin Holiday. And so Justin Holiday and Peyton Watson better make up for a dude that guards 1 through 4 and can play make and can
and then plays the 5 on offense.
Yeah. Peyton Watson, he hasn't done much, man. Like, he played some games at the end of the year because, like, you know how Mike Malone just doesn't trust any young dudes at all. So Peyton Watson played at the end of the year. And I remember he tweeted, it was like, it's my time, and he'd scored 12 points, and he retweeted his highlights, and we're like, Peyton Watson's here. And then like I remember seeing like Jokic like actively laughing at him. Yeah. And then he was sort of like walking around like, man, just hit a massive 3, we're about to lose by 30 to the Rockets. And Jokic is just like, holy fuck, there's so much more important stuff going on.
Meanwhile, Bruce Brown's just quietly and secretly getting adult film stars pregnant. That's how he is.
And making $40 million. Pretty funny.
Yeah, like really, honestly, one of the funniest things I've heard this offseason. Probably on par with James Harden at the Chinese basketball camp.
From a journalism point of view, like, I know when I write my articles for work, I just send everything back to the people who I interview, right? I don't have much experience or any experience in any other companies, but I assume if you're doing a profile piece with Kelvin Booth, maybe even if it wasn't a profile piece, if it was just a piece, you would want to check with him that he's okay with what you've written.
Yeah, but I mean, there is also that journalism thing of it where it's like, you don't want people to look at the article and be like, oh, I don't like how you've portrayed what I've said, right? Because it's like, well, you did say it, and like I'm allowed to make my own sort of assumptions and framing off that. Like when I was only an intern, but when I interned for like Mastheads, you know, it was like they were actually like, don't send them the article. They were like, you know, if they say anything, they're like, oh, like, are you sure you want to say that on record? But like, you don't want to give the subject the sort of opportunity to be like, oh, actually, I don't really like the way I came off there. And I think in this situation, honestly, like, I mean, maybe KFC didn't check with him, like, didn't send him the article, but also like, you can't say things like that to a journalist. And not immediately, as you said, like, not immediately be like, oh, actually, like, can that be off the record? Because like, if you say that to a journalist, they're like, yeah, of course. Like, and then maybe on a podcast in like a month, they're like, yeah, well, actually, like, I've been hearing that Calvin Booth's been slandering off Bruce Brown behind closed doors or whatever. Like,
I imagine he was either on Zoom or he met him in person, and then he sat down and had chat to him and said, hey, I'm going to write a profile piece and just talk about the Denver Nuggets and the potential dynasty. And then he just let this slip. Maybe he's stupid.
Well, and Kevin O'Connor, you're like, oh yeah, he's Kevin O'Connor. He's one of the fun ringer guys. I'll be a bit looser with him or whatever. Like, you have a comfortable relationship with him, but still,
Kelvin Booth is sitting there like, Kevin O'Connor, Kevin O fucking whatever he's.
I understand you, buddy. No, I think he's stupid, and I think
I think all Denver Nuggets fans should die. Alright, so the next piece of news. The Houston Rockets have trade interest in Malcolm Brogdon. That's fair enough.
Yeah, that's good. I have trade interest in Malcolm Brogdon.
Alec Burks, famously bad at basketball for the last 3 years, and Taylor Horton-Tucker.
Jesus.
What's that ordering, by the way? Usually it goes from good to bad. I feel like they've snuck in Alec Burks. This is coming from Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports. Like, fucking, you can have them if you want.
Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely.
They're all available. You've also got a roster crunch because you just picked up 2 guys for 1.
Yeah.
While dumping KPJ. So they're going to have to waive someone. I guess maybe just trade multiple guys for Malcolm Brogdon.
I feel like they're even more stuffed than that, though. Like, I feel like they have like a lot of training camp guys where it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, they just had to they had to essentially give away Usman Garuba and Ty Washington for free.
Yeah, exactly right.
Because they were up against it. Then they've just added one more person. That's a pretty big list.
So, like, what's the idea here? Like, what's the plan going in for all these like really average basketball players? Like,
wait, before you keep going, I'm just having a look at the players on their roster, and if they've been recently signed or drafted or extended, they can't be traded. So, guys, they can trade. Jay Sean Tate.
Yep.
Alperen Şengün. Well, it's like, they're not going to do Green or Şengün.
No.
I guess they could reroute Victor Oladipo. Did they sign Aaron Holiday this year? Yeah. They it's literally, do you want Jay Sean Tate?
What about Marjanovic?
No, he signed an extension.
Really?
Yeah, he signed an extension.
My word.
I mean, who the fuck's Nate Hinton?
Reggie Bullock Senior?
He just signed. Yeah,
I just wanted to bring up that he's Reggie Bullock Senior.
Yeah, never a good thing for basketball players when you add the famous SR.
Their career usually falls off a cliff at that point.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And like, I don't think you want to trade Jay Sean Tate. Like,
yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
he's like a better Tari Eason.
Yeah. He's the one like good young role player you have developed in this time you spent in the wilderness. Instead of
he's 28.
Yeah.
Have you been? What's the go?
Well, it's just so bizarre, like that. This is the route they decide to go down on at this stage in their young players' careers. Like, I understand why, because it's like at a certain point, Jalen Green has to start playing with good basketball players. Like, but like, also, he hasn't elevated himself to the point where it's like, oh, okay, he's this good player. Like, he really should have made, I know, like, it's probably not the best example, but he should have made that, like, Anthony Edwards jump where it's like, okay, this guy's like, he's an all-star. He's so clearly the future of your team. And, like, that is just not clear at all. I know it's only year 3, but it should you should be starting to get that idea about your, top 3 draft pick at this stage. And so instead, they've just gone and assembled like a bunch of like some good basketball players there, like Fred VanVleet. I'm honestly
Dylan
struggling
Brooks.
past that. Like, Dylan Brooks could be good, but also he could just make this team so much more cringe. Jock Landale's like I like that. Like, I like the idea of like a Landale Şengün kind of center rotation. I like the idea of it, but like, is this really how you're going to get anywhere close to a championship? Or do you just let these guys like 2-3 year contracts run their course and then what? Like, then you hope like Amen Thompson is, an all-star level player. Like,
if he is, you're not going to find out until 3 years.
Exactly.
Like, I drafted him in fantasy because I really like him, and I think he looks sick in the summer league. But it's like, what the hell, man? Like,
and I mean, he's not a guaranteed starter for this team either. Because of the quote unquote talent that they've added to this roster.
Or is he in the rotation?
He's got to be in the rotation, man.
Because he's so good. He's the 4th pick.
Yeah.
Also, they had the 4th pick, and now they're just signing all the. You rarely see that.
Yeah,
to sign all like Jeff Green.
Jeff Green. Yeah. No, like, I mean, it's nice having Jeff Green in the room, but do you really need him when this is where your basketball franchise is? Like,
Should we wrap up with some Harden stuff?
Yeah, why not?
I think we talked about it a lot, but I'll read out all the headlines. Harden hasn't been with the Sixers since Sunday, according to Shams Charania, The Athletic. The Clippers are unwilling to include Terrence Mann and extra picks in a trade from Jake Fisher. The Sixers are prepared to sideline Harden if he doesn't play hard, so pretty much saying they're going to sideline him. And Daryl Morey puts the blame on the Clippers front office for not getting a deal done. The boy who cried draft capital. What do you want to say about this?
Well, that last bit from Daryl Morey, like, you're basically blaming them for not giving you what you want, which is, like Terrence Mann.
Yeah.
And, like, I think it speaks volumes, like we were saying, of the kind of the despair of the situation, that Terrence Mann is the piece that they won't give up that you want, because hey, he's not going to move the needle for you when he's in Philly. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel for the Sixers in this situation. And I feel like the Clippers, I don't think Harden is a necessary piece for the Clippers to be good this year. We all know the thing that's going to make the Los Angeles Clippers the best is 65 games each from Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That's it, really. And obviously Harden will make them better, but there's just absolutely no impetus for them to throw the baby out with the bathwater going out for him. Whereas the Sixers kind of have every impetus to do that.
Yeah. Just a bit depressing.
Just really depressing. It'd be really funny if he got benched. Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know. But the whole thing where he was going to sign with Houston, then Ime Udoka reportedly nixed it because they said, "What are your goals for next season?" And he's like, "Oh, to win a scoring title again." What the fuck, man? It's just
yeah. It's not even really it's that fun to watch him play basketball anymore. Sometimes when Kevin Durant is unhappy, you're kind of all right, I know you're gonna fuck up the league. Forcing your move, but at least I get to see Kevin Durant in a good situation, because it's really, really fun to watch you play. But James Harden, since maybe I don't know, those first 6 months in Philly, it just hasn't been fun to watch him.
Remember they had a back-to-back against Utah and New York, and he's I've never played this much, I've never had this much fun playing basketball. And it's but you and I would have fun playing against that Knicks team. But it's when Damian Lillard goes to the Bucks, it's oh my god, this dude's out of a bad situation, and I can't wait to see what they do. They're title contenders. Wherever James Harden goes, I was at lunchtime, I went on the sticks and put James Harden on the Clippers to see how it would play, and it's 2K, so Russ Westbrook's still very, very good. It's just a good team anyway. But it's the
OKC Thunder with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
But when/if Harden goes to the Clippers, Bleacher Report's going to post their graphic with the jersey's already cropped on Photoshop, right? But it's not that exciting.
No,
it's you got a 34-year-old point guard who wants to shoot more and take away from the two better players.
And who's probably going to be unfit or injured, not just as much as they are, but if you're a Los Angeles Clippers fan and you're going to the Crypto.com arena to watch a Los Angeles Clippers game, you're seeing your chances of seeing one of the 4 former All-Stars on the team, in this scenario, are pretty slim. I mean, Russell Westbrook might play 82 games, but what Russell Westbrook are you going to get every night? There's not even that kind of allure of at least seeing a former MVP playing fun basketball.
That's stupid, though. All right, I think that miserable note is as good a time as any to finish. 2 things before we finish. First one, sign up to our newsletter. I guess the link right now is just on the website. If you go into our website in the top right-hand corner, we should make that more available, actually. I'll put it on the fucking link tree.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. We have a link tree. Yeah. And that website, it's thedeep2.com.
It's so simple.
If you weren't aware.
And the bit that I couldn't sneak in anywhere is that I was on, at the top of the pod, I was on NBA League Pass, or Game Time, whatever. And you said, "Hey,
is it actually called Game Time now?"
It used to be. It used to be called Game Time, but you said it's gotten better, right? And I agree. I think it has gotten better, but on the desktop, it's I'll go on, I'll change the volume, and then I'll move my mouse off, and I move my mouse back on, and it doesn't move, right? And the bar doesn't come up. So the only way to get off it is to just completely quit Chrome. Minor problem, but there's fucking something else missing. Last year, I could watch every single Mets 82 game, and I tried to find it, and I can't seem to get it anywhere.
That's very good. That's very good. I mean, don't the people? Oh no, they don't even have that other guy on their team anymore. Who was Wemby's
Bilal Koulibaly.
No. Who was the old cunt?
I didn't watch it, man.
There was a...
I honestly, the only Mets 82 game I watched was him versus Scoot in the showcase.
Yeah. Look, we're gonna have to come back to this next time. Next time I'm on the deep too, because
the old man with it's like Dick Go Hard or something.
Dick Go Hard. That's exactly right.
It's like Mum so fat or something. No, ho fat.
Oh yeah,
you're fat or something.
What's his name?
Steve
Ho you fat. Yeah.
Steve
right.
Dick Game Week.
Yeah, because I mean that would be enough to have him on NBA Game Time. But,
yeah. It used to be called Game Time, I think.
Yeah, right.
Or if whatever.
Just they spent way too much time rebranding it and not enough time actually building it.
Yeah. Marco, I will speak to you next week on opening night.
See you then.